Hey, welcome back,
Welcome
guys.
back.
Back to the first draft. Fred, Blanca, Chris here again. We're gonna finish up
Hey.
our segment on the birth rates and kind of funny. Am I overreacting on the Reddit? So yeah. That's what do you guys think?
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
All
Let's
right,
go.
let's roll.
Okay. Am I overreacting for being upset after reading my boyfriend's messages? Basically, to start the story off, I've never gone through his messages, not once in our 6 years of dating. First of all, why is he still your boyfriend? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I have never gone through his messages once in our 6 years of dating, but something was telling me that I should. So I went through his group chat messages with his friends and I saw something that caught my eye. As I was reading through the messages, I would see that his friends were going back and forth and occasionally would send pictures of women we know talking about how bad or hot they were. I noticed he was replying back. Okay, so these people are basically like 18 and 19.
I think there's.
I don't
Is
know.
there
Is
an
there
age?
is there an age on there?
Sometimes they have like
there is
24
no age, but they
female.
have to be young. I noticed he was replying back, agreeing with the guys, and at one point, one of his friends sent a picture of a girl saying he DM'd her, and my boyfriend replied saying, "Bro, I DM'd her too." Laughing face emoji. I brought all this to his attention, and he told me that it was just quote unquote boy talk and that he hasn't and will never do anything with anyone else. He made it clear that when he reached out to that girl that it was because he reaches out to people to be able to invite more people to our parties. I think that that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
They got to be young.
And they
The
gotta be
whole
Our parties.
conversation,
Yeah.
he made me feel like I was crazy and blowing things out of proportion for being upset because it wasn't real talk, quote unquote. It was quote unquote boy talk. I've never had a reason to not trust him, but these messages really threw me for a loop. So am I overreacting for being upset after reading my boyfriend's messages? Huh. I have to just
So
say
what was
this.
her
The
reaction? She
first
got mad, I guess, or
overreacting. I guess the first response on here is about the age. Presumably y'all are older than teenagers, right?
oh god.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like
say
this,
this
like they have to
sounds.
be, this is like,
Well, it creates a. I mean, it does kind of happen, in even in not to that extent, but even in more mature relationships where people have like
What do you
where
classify
people
as
have
mature though? Like I don't see a lot of that stuff.
where
Not to give
people
away
are
my age, but I'm over. You know,
where people are protective over not protective, but they're inquisitive over the text messages, like phone communications of the other person.
yeah, but I don't think that's just the issue. It's not just
Yeah,
about her being inquisitive. It's about her seeing something that she's reacting to.
yeah.
And I guess my only question, it doesn't explain it in there. When she said DMing girls they knew, I mean, are they talking about their social circle? Or are they talking about coworkers? Are they talking about
they said
It's
people
probably all
they
the
know.
same.
They're sending pictures in their group with women, like girls,
that the whole
females
group
that the whole
know?
group knows and like scoring them, which first of all, that's
That's a little
just
Oh, they were
like,
shaky.
scoring
That's a
them.
little shaky.
yeah, that's what the,
Oh gosh,
If you're in a relation,
like
committed
saying, like
relationship.
saying,
like oh,
are
she's an 8 or she's a 9 or whatever.
they didn't say that. They just said, are they hot or
Are they
not?
hot or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
It sounds like young people.
They
it
sound
definitely
really
is.
young.
Yeah, um,
They could be college age too, though.
That would
it's
still
like
be
19. Yeah, that's young.
20.
19,
19,
20,
But they
20.
said
21.
she said they've been in a relationship for 6 years. So have they been in a relationship since she was 13?
Maybe they're high school sweethearts or something.
They could, so they're probably like early 20s, right?
They could,
Been
I
in a
don't know,
relationship
but
for
they,
six
to
years.
me, I think they're probably young, like
I
21.
agree.
They might be like 21 at the most. So maybe since they were like 15 or something, just in high school.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
So what? How can we answer that? Maybe she's overreacting for our more mature viewpoint. Like I don't feel like that would even be a discussion. But she wants somebody to answer her from her perspective. I don't know.
It's kind of hard on that one because we don't know the age.
Yeah.
I feel like, but we can still answer it, assuming they're like, let's say they're 21 or so. Let's just assume they're like
That's
21.
what we should. Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
Then that makes, not that it makes sense, but it's understandable why they wouldn't be married and they'd still be dating for 6 years, because they're just like young.
Sure.
And it's almost like I'm almost bound to believe what he's saying, to believe him. But the fact that he actually texted that girl
Yeah.
is the only thing that's throwing me off. Not even the fact that they're rating, which is not, they shouldn't really be doing that, whatever.
Right.
That he even said that he DM'd her, and maybe he really didn't because he was just like, showing off.
Right.
But that he admitted to it, like he really did DM her.
He did.
But he said his reason for it was it sounded silly, like
to match his dude friend group vibe, like machismo, like, hey, I DM'd.
I can understand that.
Because he said, hey, I DM'd her too, I don't think it's correct in a more mature relationship.
No, I think that if he said I DM'd her too, and he was just trying to match that, I don't see nothing. I just see that as immature.
Right.
But he actually said that he did DM her.
Yeah.
And he said, but he said
to invite people to more parties. Like that was
yeah. And I think that just is a reflection of like they're young. They're young.
I guess he tried to give himself plausible deniability, right? So it's like, oh, it's just for the parties or whatever. But you just can't really. Oh man, it looks so bad though. You never want to have it creates the appearance of impropriety, which is why she's upset. It gives him plausible deniability. He can kind of play it whichever way he wants. I mean, but the appearance of impropriety is the main issue here, right? Like you never even want to present these kind of opportunities to where you never know what's actually going on with the private communications with your lover's phone. And especially with nowadays with modern apps and everything, there's so many ways to hide a lot of this stuff.
He reaches out to people to be able to invite more people to our parties. That's he
is he doing it professionally?
That's a weak excuse.
No, is he a promoter?
No,
that's
obviously
a weak excuse.
He's not a promoter.
No,
He's
basically, he doesn't know how to lie, but he did do it. He told the truth, but then try to say, but it's just for this. But like, obviously, I think he probably has a little crush on that girl they're talking about, or was attracted to her, something, and texted her. I think he did text her.
Well, think about this. But there's something deeper going on here too. Is that even if he's right, he's still he's setting up a scenario in the future where this girl is going to be at his place. And
that's true. And they would have been talking about her and rating.
It's their place.
Or at the place where the party of the people that are rating her.
I'm just saying he's setting up a scenario in the future where they're all going to be together. Probably alcohol's involved, obviously. And then
so
who knows,
true. You already opened the door for something.
Yeah.
You already rated her, so or pretended that you did. Let's say you did, and you looked at her a certain way, and then the next time she's going to be at the party, like you said, they're going to be drinking alcohol, and that conversation is going to come to everyone's mind, and that's just going to open the door for him to be like, well, maybe she is a 10, or you know what I'm saying? It does.
Yeah.
But it puts somebody on a different, it changes the way you view them. It's going to change the way they view her the next time that she's around at their party, because they sat there and rated her and talked about her and sent pictures of her. And then him and the girlfriend had a argument about it. So the next time she comes around, it's just going to be a lot of things tension there.
Yeah. I mean, but it's still relegated to their age group too, because I was in a TikTok live where we discussed not that exact topic, but we discussed honesty when you're in a marriage or an adult committed relationship. Like, I mean, I talk about it like men are going to be men, but also humans are going to be human. And just because you are committed to somebody or married to somebody doesn't mean you're not going to see an attractive member of who you're
Yeah.
attracted to. And I think that's okay to talk with your partner about and acknowledge it. But I think where the impropriety comes in is him trying to breach like make contact out, and like that's shaky.
I think
That's a little crossing the line.
I think
It's
because of their youth, because she didn't say one thing about I wish they weren't rating people we know. She didn't even say that. It's the part where she was like, where he said I DM'd her, and she was like, he DM'd her.
yeah, you built that
Like, what do you
social
mean?
network
What
at
do you
that
mean
point.
you DM'd her? That changed. That's what
Yeah.
changed everything. So,
Yeah.
but now she's put herself. I think now she's put herself in a position where you don't want to be as a
What do you
person
mean by that?
as a person in a relationship. You don't want to be the person in a relationship that, even if you're correctly discerning a situation or questioning a situation, rightfully so, now just for that fact, the other person has, if you want to say, for lack of a better word, the upper hand. Leverage. And now they can, either, even if they don't make you seem jealous, you're going to start feeling insecure. You're going to put yourself down for feeling that way and thinking that way and coming to the person. Now you're like pining and being needy and being like, it's just not, it's just the whole dynamics around this is negative for their relationship.
I agree with that.
Whether, even if there was nothing, almost especially if they plan to continue pursuing the relationship, right? And that nothing ever happened, it's almost like she's showing all her cards. And he's like, so I don't know. It gets him like, I hate to say this because it makes it seem like a game, but it gives him way too much information about her because she's questioning it.
That's funny you mentioned that. I was actually going to say there's quite a bit of game theory involved in this. So yeah,
Nash equilibrium out here.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think what she should have done is like asked him about it, let her know, like just been like, okay, and then just be done with that, and then like simmer on that,
internalize it and keep it,
internalize it and think about it, and then see what happens next. Like, does anything come of this, right? Like, sometimes you got to give people time to see if, like, to let them be who they are, and see if you're gonna trust them, or to see if you're gonna trust them and or not. Maybe she gives it more time and she's gonna find out, like, it'll unravel itself. Whatever the situation is will unravel itself, and she'll see soon enough. But I think that she shouldn't. I don't think that, even when there's a situation of when you're right, you're wrong, because she's gonna make herself look a certain way if she keeps poking. Like, but it's just not gonna work out.
So you think she's overreacting, but only on a level of like
pragmatism.
strategy within their relationship.
Yeah. I don't think she's overreacting.
Not that she's wrong.
No.
From an ethical standpoint.
I think some things you just got to hold in your back pocket, not to take out and use against somebody, but to be like, you don't want to be wrong and then have to apologize.
Right.
And especially in the situation where he's like being dumb, right? And then you have to turn around and apologize because you and then in that situation, that's when you start getting confused. People can start gaslighting you. They start like knowing too much about you. And I'm saying, I hate to say all this, because at the end of the game, I hate it when part of a relationship is like, nobody wants somebody that they don't feel like is the prize, right? Like, people want the person they feel like is the prize. Like, I don't mean that, what is the word? I don't mean that in a chauvinistic type of way, but like,
I get what you're saying.
You want somebody that, nobody wants the person that they don't feel like is the prize. And when you start questioning and you just bring yourself down, even when you're right, even if you're right, I think there's a strategy to it.
Because now that guy may think he's just settling instead of actually having the one, is what you're saying, as far as like the chase, right? What do you mean by the chase?
Yeah, like you don't want to flip it where all of a sudden now you're chasing after your boyfriend and that dynamic change because he, like, now you're so upset you can't let it go. And I'm not saying let it go. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm saying there's only so much you can do before you do too much. And like, so much you can do is very little. Most of what you have to do in the situation is just like really examine and observe and pay attention to like the rest of the relationship and go from there.
Yeah, what's more prudent, especially if you're talking about strategy, is to monitor the situation.
Yeah.
And see where it goes, and if it's a trend, if that's what's really important, because this is, these little outliers and stuff that you have to give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt for a single data point, but that's what basically that's a red flag. It doesn't mean that you break everything off. It's not a deal breaker. It just means,
I like that.
It just means
I like
it
that.
needs to be monitored heavily, and it doesn't even mean that, well, now we're going to come to some kind of agreement where I get to look at your phone every X amount of days. You should do it surreptitiously. But you see if it's a trend, like if you need to monitor behavior. Is this going to, hey, we're going to have, maybe you encourage it just to see what this person does in that situation. Yeah, let's have a party. Let's have her over here. Let's see what happens, Right. No, she's totally cool. Meanwhile, you're like cataloging, documenting, either formally or informally, either in your head or in a journal. And, after a while, you compile everything. It's like, hey, after 6 months, this is what I've observed. And, I don't know if this is, I'm okay. I haven't seen any example. I haven't seen any infractions of action. Yeah. But if this doesn't change, then we're going to have issues. And that doesn't have to be the exact model, but it's like just a general model that's good. I think maybe that's the best way to handle that situation, because it's especially with modern relationships, it's difficult now because, one, like you said, they're not married. If they were married, he would have a lot more. They would both have a lot more stake, like skin in the game. But since they don't, they're still kind of separate, and so they have to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. Each one has to protect themselves, and they're still looking out for their own self-interests rather than what can we do together. And so you have conflict, you have competition, and so that's kind of pretty much the reason why this is happening is because they're 6 years dating. I mean, that's really
they're young.
Yeah.
And they're young.
So it's
like, honestly,
it's interesting, yeah.
Maybe he is a scumbag, but he may seem like he could be a good guy that's just young and is in a relationship,
Well, the culture permits a lot of this stuff too. So,
well, I mean, it's even traditionally, I mean, it's a part of manhood to be
chasing,
to show machismo to other men, that's outside of modernity. That's always been a traditional thing. Like
100%.
even if it's not the reality, like, like even when you're around your dudes, you're like, yeah, I talked to so and so and so and so, and like really you only like bottle water from her at the cashier, but you're going to build that up because that's just traditionally how, especially younger men, when they're coming into their adult form. I mean, it's just how it's always been.
No, I agree. That's why, like, right now we can know nothing about him, like us not knowing him. He could be on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum. Like, I'm leaning more towards he's probably a good guy and he's just young, and he's, when you're young, like, you just like that, you just want to shine in front of your friends. But he also did text her, but that, like, maybe like she's.
Did she ever actually say what the DM said though? I would be interested in that. Like, was it like come to a party, or was I just
I don't
saying
think I
Like she
don't I
hi?
don't
said.
think she knew because
Oh,
he just said I did, but he just told her, yeah, but I did text her, but it was just to like I think that's like the dumbest, like, yeah, just to round more people up for the party. What?
Yeah, yeah.
She knows it's dumb,
Yeah,
but
that's a pretty weak answer.
I don't think she's overreacting. I don't think she's over. I think she's actually like really. It's really good of her to come on Reddit and be like. I feel like she put the situation out exactly how it was,
I kind of agree
you
with you.
know, and
I
she
kind of
seems
agree with
pretty
you.
level-headed, you
Mm.
know.
No, I agree with you. Not kind of. I
No,
agree with
yeah,
you. I
yeah.
agree
It
with you
did. It didn't seem
fully.
like it was skewed to her, like towards her. But this makes. Do want to say this. These type of things is why relationships are difficult, dude. Like the relationships
You ain't gotta tell
are
me twice.
because there's so much gray area, and it's not gray because it's bad. Like it's just gray because you don't ever know. Even if you're with someone 24 hours a day, you're not going to know what's in their mind. People don't even know what's in their own mind, you know. Like people sometimes don't even know their own sometimes intentions fully, you know. They
Yeah.
do, or what they're capable of doing. So and this is why um it's so important, I think, to, if you're going to be in a relationship, one, in my opinion, hindsight is 2020, is don't even get in a relationship unless if your goal is marriage. Don't get in a relationship unless you think that there's potential there, and don't wait around for 2-3 years. So that really means don't get in a relationship when you're supposed to be like focused on college, because that's what you want to do, and focused on your friends and on life, you know what I'm saying. And two, if you're the type of person that can't forgive easily and holds grudges, like work on that before you ever get in a relationship, you know. And if you truly, because there's some things that feels like you may be slighted or maybe done wrong in a relationship, but you're really not. But if you have that propensity to be spiteful, you're gonna feel more like you're being done wrong, even though like nothing really happened. They
And
were just living their lives. You just can't let it go,
you're
you
gonna
know.
project that onto your partner
You're
or
gonna
your future
project that on.
partner, and that could be a negative and a downfall of a relationship because that builds resentment. And just from my experience, I think resentment is one of the biggest
That's
downfalls
a
of a
killer.
relationship.
Yeah, resentment.
Mm.
And then another thing I was gonna say is uh you have to, I wouldn't get in a relationship people that make people their idols. You know, a person can't be your idol, because the moment that you feel in your relationship it gets into a, like, not even a gray area, just something you're not 100% sure of, you're just going to focus on that, on that, and that, because they're your idol. Like, you, that can't be your idol. Your idol can't be yourself either, right? Because then you're going to really feel like you're done wrong. If if the self is the idol, then you're really protective of it. Like, what what is your idol? It can't be him, it can't be you. It has to be something good and meaningful outside of yourselves. And then three is somebody, like, I think if you're going to be in a relationship, you have to be able to, if you can forgive, or if you can just move past, and if that person is not your idol, then that allows you to still keep enjoying life in situations like this when you just got to give it time.
Mm.
Because otherwise it's just like torture, like, oh, I got to give it like a month to see, or 3 months to see, and you are just unhappy the whole time. But that's no way to live life. So I think those things are important to be able to um, do if you're going to be in a relationship, like first and foremost, or work on those things if one day you do want to be. And I think just relationships, I'm not in a relationship, but woo, I think about and I hear situations like this, and I'm like, this is why it's so difficult to be in a relationship, because just the littlest things could, like, are the nuances that make it difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little
Well,
caveats can undermine a relationship, and it could be a minuscule technical thing, but if you harp on it or hold on to it, it can be a killer.
It can be a killer.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things could be truly nothings.
Yeah, like negligible. You
Like
know?
negligible.
Mhm.
Like you're in a relationship with a human. You know, they're not trying to do you wrong necessarily.
And humans are not perfect. Like we can't make the perfect decision in every single circumstance. And so I think at some point, if you are truly committed to the relationship, you have to give a little bit of grace, you know?
Yeah, that's a good word. You do have to give grace. That's
Just
a
a
good
little
word.
bit. Not like
Yeah.
from a religious standpoint.
No,
like
no,
what that means.
no,
You know
no.
what I
I
mean?
know. You're just from a human standpoint.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Because I think you can give a lot of grace. I think you can give a lot of grace actually to someone and still, especially when you give a lot of grace to someone, maybe that allows you to discern even better because you're like, I
Correct.
give you a lot of grace, you know, and this is not good.
well,
So do we all agree that she's not overreacting, but it's contextualized by the age group and that point in their life, or do we think
I don't think
she's not over. She's
I
not
don't
over.
think she's
I don't
overreacting.
think she
She's not
is
overreacting.
either.
I don't
Yeah.
think
I
so.
think we all
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I don't think she is.
She
Yeah.
seems cool to me. Like
I
she's
like it.
probably
I agree with her
I feel like we
perspective.
know her better now that we
Yeah.
explored her situation. But
Who is it? What's her
Yeah,
name?
we got
Cool.
you. We need to tag her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Right.
got you. We agree with you. You're not overreacting.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Bernie
Let's, wrap it up.
Macaro. Bernie Macaro.
Hey, welcome back. All right. So after this, after the "Am I Overreacting" segment, we've got part 3 of the birth rates phenomenon that we've been kind of trying to track and catalog. Last episode, we discussed, do you have an obligation to have children? And it created a little bit of a stir amongst us. We've been talking about it all week long. I wanted to reframe the question in a different way. So here's the new question. I don't want to spend too much time on it. And I also have a rebuttal for Fred over here for a point he made last week. So the new question is, do Americans, we're going to try to keep this specific and just regionally located, do Americans have a collective responsibility to balance the birth rate? Meaning, not just balancing numbers, but to keep from going extinct. If the birth rate is balanced, that means you are at equilibrium. And so that means that the population continues. So once again, do Americans have a collective responsibility to balance birth rates nationally? Or not nationally, I'm sorry.
Yeah. 2 Americans nationally.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wrote that in the in the footnotes, but yeah. So that is the new kind of question. What do you guys think about that?
That's a great question.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fred and Chris.
Or maybe I should have. I'll do my own response.
Yeah, you can do your own response,
and then I'll you can respond.
Yeah, because really, your response is a response to mine, right?
A little bit,
Not to
yeah,
do the
yeah.
double. I know that's like my little token thing that I do, but
Yeah,
that's what we're doing, right?
So I would say with this new framing, even though the question really hasn't changed, it just helped crystallize and refine the original argument.
I like that.
I would say that yes, we have a responsibility to keep from going extinct, which doesn't even mean that you have to have 18 kids. It just means the bare minimum is
2.1.
Yeah, 2.1, like 2 per couple. Like it's not really that many. I would say you kind of have that should be basically should be
2 per couple in relation to the total population of the United States, or 2 per couple that people decide to couple. Like you have to frame that actual number, right? That's a different number.
I don't know. I think it's based on the population. What's the population like? 360, and then taking kids away.
But not everybody's a couple within that 360.
No, I know, but we didn't
It
make
gets-
up the number. We just Googled it, and Google said the U.S. birth rate needs to be 2.1.
Oh yeah, the 2 point.
Yeah.
I,
So that's
where-
I'm not
that's where we
disagreeing
get
with
it
that
from.
number.
All that means is that you need, because it takes at least 2 to make one child. It means to replace each parent, because we have finite lives on this earth. They're going to die. You need,
Obviously.
yeah, you need.
Duh.
That's why the reason why I'm saying, I mean, this issue confuses a lot of people, and I'm like, it's really the math. There's not
How
complicated
does it
math
confuse
involved.
them? I don't think anybody.
Because maybe people
Because-
haven't really thought about
Because
it.
some people think we're overpopulated, and it's like,
That's
actually,
very true.
actually, if you look at it, it's not even like advanced mathematics going on here. It's just you need a man and a woman to reproduce.
But I don't
They
think
have,
I don't
on
think anybody
average,
that uses logic or natural reason would ever overlook that. Like, I mean, and
You'd be
actually,
surprised.
you don't. You
You'd
can
be
use
surprised.
IVF, but I'm not getting that.
We're getting there.
But you need
I'm
I
still
think
trying to
it's because of what you said. Because if people already think we're overpopulated, they're like, well, why do we need to keep the population the
Yeah.
same? It's okay if we
So,
like.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's a personal choice, though. It's not just about overpopulation. It's about a personal choice of whether I want to have kids or I don't want to have kids.
Correct. And
Or
I'm getting
either
to that.
I've already had a kid and I don't want to continue to have kids. It has nothing to do with overpopulation.
I'm getting to that.
It has
So,
to do with the personal choice, which I
Yes.
think is the core of your question and your rebuttal.
Correct. So I'm getting to that. So do we have basically to keep from going extinct, like I think we've explored,
Mm-hmm.
you need, once again, man, woman, they, on average, humans are not like dogs. We don't have
Litters.
Right.
Right.
We're like more like horses. You have.
I mean, you do have
on
exceptions.
average.
You have twins and
well,
things
we have
like that. But you're talking about on average.
You have
Correct.
one.
We have
you
a
have
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
You
yeah.
birth
on
one.
average,
You don't birth a
like I said,
litter,
yeah,
usually.
you on average you usually you can usually allot for like one per
Yeah, I
pregnancy.
get that. Yeah.
Which means that to replace both parents, which you need to have the pregnancy, you need at least 2. Even if you just had 2, that would replace the other 2, and then that would be equilibrium.
So it's
that's
a 2-for-1 ratio, is what you're basically saying, right?
2 for 1, 2 for 2.
No.
You get 2 people from 2 people.
No, not the number we need to repopulate, but on average, you need 2 parents to have 1 kid on average, right?
No, 2 kids.
No.
To repopulate, I'm saying what actually occurs. Like it takes, because that's what he's saying. It needs 2. You need 2 people to create 1 birth.
Yeah, you can't have.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 women can't have a kid.
Yeah. Not.
What are you clarifying? Obviously, you need 2 people to make 1.
Well, he's clarifying it. I'm just like,
No,
that's
he's
a
saying-
given.
No, he's saying 2 people, a man and a woman, need to make 2 more people.
That's it.
I get that.
Because they're going to
but I'm
die,
saying-
and
but
so
he
you
was
need
saying,
2 to replace.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's where
That's how
that's
you
where
plan
the 2. That's why I said the math.
Yeah.
It's very simple math, but it
Simple.
confuses a lot of people.
It
And
doesn't confuse me at all.
It's a father and a mother.
Need
To
to have
replace-
2.3 people to
No.
replace.
One.
Just-
Just 2.
just 2.
Let's just stick to
If
2.
you have if each couple had 2 kids, they would replace themselves, and we would be at equilibrium. We would just be at static.
Assuming the kids
No,
didn't
I was just
die,
saying
like-
2 people have the ratio is so for repopulation is 2 for 2, but I'm saying on average when a pregnancy occurs, it takes 2 people to create 1.
To create 1,
Yeah.
That's all. I was
which
saying.
means you need on average
Because
you need 2 pregnancies to replace the parents. That's where the 2 number comes from.
Mhm.
If that drops below 2 averaged, then that means you're on track to going extinct.
live birth.
Yes. So how do you get that number back up to 2? That doesn't mean you have to have 10 kids. It means how do you get people to? I mean, I guess that's the solution problem. But and that's what I wanted to ask you. The question from last week was, now that we've acknowledged the issue that the birth rates are below 2, which means that on average in the U.S. you have 2 people. They're not having enough kids. How do you? Well, one, you need more people to keep society going. So who should be tasked with that responsibility making sure our species doesn't go extinct. And yes, I guess you could say globally. I know you're going to say globally.
No, we're keeping it in the context of
Yeah.
America.
So let's just say
Yeah,
it's to make sure
nationality,
Americans don't
yeah.
go extinct.
Yeah.
And globally too, we'll just throw this in there. Yes, I guess the global rates are still above replacement rates
Yeah, they
on
are.
average,
They are.
but they are trending downwards. So the rate of change is negative, if you want to get technical about it. The second derivative of that is negative, which means that the trend is going downwards. So it's okay now, but in the future, if things stay the same, you will see the human species top out and then dwindle as after the maximum.
Are you saying that the trend is going downward nationally
The
or
rate.
globally?
Globally, it's going down. It's
Can
okay
you look
now.
that up for me, Calvin? Can we look up the?
He's saying it's still a lot higher than 2.1, but
Yeah.
he said it's trending down.
Well, that's Can we look up the trend for the global repopulation rate if it's actually trending down?
Global repopulation or global fertility rate is what they call it.
I think we used fertility rate, which I still don't like, but whatever.
I don't like it, but it means like live births, I guess.
Live births, yeah.
Global fertility rate.
Let's see if it's actually trending down or up.
Uh, 2.4 children per woman.
Globally.
Oh, they're doing it per women. Yeah.
That's usually how it goes. So what is the rate of that rate, which would be the derivative?
Or just ask, is the global birth rate going up or down?
Yeah, you can do that too.
But regardless, while he looks that up, we're gonna focus here
on
the
nation, yeah.
On the U.S. Yeah.
I mean, really, you could even just do a thought experiment and just like, you have a set population you could say in a petri dish or something like that. Like if you really wanted to just get, cells repopulate at much faster rates or whatever. But I mean, like if you had it's a closed system. So even if you were to just talk about like a community or a village, it's the same thing. Just
okay. Yes. Go ahead.
It's going down. It's going down.
What does it exactly say?
Over the past several decades, there's been a significant decline in the number of births worldwide.
So
well, what's the rate though?
He's at 2.4 right now.
Right now, but
globally,
there's also a rate of change of that, which is going to be a different figure, which I don't even know if
that's
can calculate.
No, the rate of change. The rate of change.
The rate of change is what's important.
Okay, cool.
And the rate of change is down or negative, which means that next year it's going to be less than that.
Or in 5 years it'll be.
And
less
in 5
than
years,
that.
correct.
But so why have we been hearing? Because I've been hearing for like the last 15 years, we're soon we're gonna run out of resources for people because we just have too many people. Like
That's
like
propaganda.
That's a different topic, though.
No. I want to know, like, why have you not?
Oh yeah.
We don't have to discuss it, but let me just ask this: have you heard?
Yeah.
That we don't have to discuss it, and we don't have to answer this question, but maybe for the next time, maybe we could write it down. Why have we been told that we are overpopulated when we're barely at 2.4 globally, which is just barely above what we need to keep the numbers the same?
Mm-hmm.
So why have it seems like a blatant lie that we've been fed.
That is something I would like to, next episode.
It doesn't make sense.
The thing is,
the short answer is psychological operations, psyops.
I mean, I disagree with that.
Propaganda.
That's conspiracy theory.
I don't want to give the answer here because I don't know.
It's not factually based, but I mean, the problem is that I think people are talking about populated areas, because if you start talking just about the total surface area left on the earth that could be populated, it's not. I mean, there's miles and miles of stuff in the Amazon. Well, I mean, the way you acquire resources is through the land, right?
I know, but I'm saying I've always heard we're gonna run out of resources.
What specific resource, like fossil fuels?
No,
or something
I guess
energy,
whatever
food,
resources we need to survive. Crop, like soil available to grow crop. Animals.
I can explain it real quick, and then we can.
I don't know what the resources are, but obviously, I do know what the we know what the resources are. Like the resources we need as a basic necessity to keep going. oil, you know,
Fossil
those
fuels.
resources. So my question is, and we can talk about it next time, is
Mhm.
why have I only been hearing it even up until recently that we we're getting overpopulated globally. I feel like that's I'm just paraphrasing it. I can't even
No,
give
Blanca,
an
you're right.
exact
Yes,
quote
it's
or anything, but I feel like, to me, all this new thing about why the fertility rate is important to keep up is new, I would say, in the past year, because when I first read it, like even a year and a half ago, I was like, what do you mean? Like, aren't we overpopulated? Aren't we gonna run out of resources? Like, that's what I've been thinking, like water. Like, that's one of the things I've been hearing, like water, you know, like. And where I heard that from directly was maybe 5 or 7 years ago, and it was like through the Bill Gates Foundation or something.
Oh.
Maybe it came through that, like we're going to run out of, you know, clean drinking water or something because of the overpopulation. Anyway, it just seems to me that that's the message I've been getting.
yes.
That would be the only reason why a year and a half ago, when I heard that we maybe are not sustaining our population rate, I was shocked. And I was like, what? I thought we were overpopulated.
Yes.
So where did that messaging come from? We don't have to talk about it today, but
Well, it's the
I mean, it's a good
epistemology,
topic to bring
basically.
up.
Like, how do we even know what we know, and why do we know what we know? Which is a focus of our
Yeah.
podcast. Is, you know, where are we getting our information from, and who's telling us? What's their agenda? What are their interests? There's a reason why we've been told this basically Malthusian myth that's been perpetuated since the 1960s and even before that. Robert Thomas Malthus, the original Malthusianism, which is just a theory that resources are finite, but that basically the more people on the world, the more people that populate the world, they consume more resources. And basically he thought that because the resources are finite, the more people you have, the more resources are going to consume, and so you're going to run out. Except he didn't take into account what I was telling my cousin earlier today. Humans are producers. We learn how to leverage everything. You can learn. Humans know how to, with our knowledge, we know how to produce enough food from a 2 square foot by 2 square foot plot of land to feed to, maybe it's not Ruth Chris, but, you know, to produce enough grain to turn into bread to sustain multiple people. Through like GMOs, you increase your yield.
Tech will always be the
tech.
solution.
Yeah.
Through
Tech
human
will always be the
ingenuity.
solution.
Human ingenuity outgrows any problem that we come across.
I completely agree with that.
Which is why if you had more humans, we could solve a lot more problems. And
actually, with AI, you need less human productivity. You know, not that I'm trying to oppose your viewpoint, but I mean, it takes less humans to do the job once you have tech. You know, if you get a tiller, you don't need 50 people to till the ground. You get
You're talking about leveraging machines for manual labor.
Even beyond, it's just tech.
Of course.
I mean, I'm even talking about using a bow and arrow to like kill multiple animals instead of trying to go, you know, melee combat like we brought up with the Sandra Bland thing in our past video.
The arrow travels faster than you can travel, you leverage tools.
Yeah, which is why humans dominate the animal world, so to say. You know.
Yeah, we have rational minds, like Aristotle said, and we can devise tools. We develop guns to hunt animals so we can eat them, you know, like. Anyways, we're digressing a tad. Now that we've established that we can't just go extinct, someone has to do the reproducing. And you said that.
I think you just answered your question. I mean, the ingenuity of humans will solve the problem through tech if certain people don't want to make that specific choice. But you still need the biological element. You still need to, I hate to say it like this.
You still need biological material.
Yeah, you still need to harvest the egg.
But you're still going way beyond, like you're skipping like a whole, why are you going directly to tech though?
I'm just saying to supplement. I'm not saying that should be the end all be all.
So
Oh, you mean to fill the gap for the people
to fill the gap.
who don't want, who choose not to? You use
I think
tech.
to fill the gap,
Okay.
just getting the word out,
I agree.
creating awareness,
Mm-hmm.
I think is major. And I think that would increase the fertility rate, because when people are fed and they believe that, you know, we have enough kids and we don't need to be bringing a bunch of kids in this world, then truly that affects your family planning sometimes if you don't
Mhm.
know better. But if you start learning that, no, we're promoting reproduction, and we take that stigma away, which there has been a stigma. I don't know, but I feel like our generation has been like, you're supposed to be like, even for women, getting an education, working. You're not supposed to be like having a litter of kids and being a stay-at-home mom. Like, that was looked at negatively, and I feel like that has changed. That has been changed. I feel like that has started to change a lot in the past few years, like with your all's millennial generation. But I feel like with our Gen X generation, no, I didn't get that message. Like, it was stigmatized to be a stay-at-home mom. Stigmatized, looked down upon. It would be something that wasn't like celebrated as much like it is now.
I would almost wholly agree with you. The only place where I slightly digress from you is that I don't think it was stigmatized. I just think it was more allowed to be a personal choice.
Well, I'm telling you from a woman's point of view.
Oh, okay.
I've
talked to other
women.
I've talked to other women, and just from our generation, they were just like, it was a personal choice. It wasn't
It
stigmatized.
was a personal choice, but at the same time,
the stigma,
the stigma came from other women during our generation. 100%.
Well, I've talked to other women from our generation and prior to our generation. The stigma was the right to have a choice. It wasn't about what choice you made. It was the right to have the choice.
I don't think so, Fred. I don't think so. I think our generation.
I don't know. I talked to a lot of women that are close to my age.
Okay, but did you interview them, ask them specific questions?
I asked them specific questions about having children or not having children,
but about
as far as being a stay-at-home
viewed
mom
negatively or not. In our generation, each generation has a messaging that they get, and our generation got the messaging that it wasn't bad. No one said it was bad, but it wasn't like
celebrated.
It wasn't celebrated.
That's not stigmatized. It just means that's a personal choice. No. Stigmatized means you're castigated for making that choice. No woman was ever castigated.
No, it wasn't just not celebrated. It also was looked down upon.
Not from women that I talk to.
I don't care about those women. I'm telling you from my point of view.
Okay, well,
and probably all the women that I talk to, it was. So you talk to 5 women that say it wasn't. I talk to 5 that say it was. I do believe if we look it up and take a survey that yes, it was. And then everything started changing with like Chris's generation and really with the younger generations. And now those things are celebrated so much. Therefore, like you get the trad wives and, you know, those things that you see, like, y'all know what that is, right?
I do.
Yeah. So like they went way over this way, but it was not in the middle where it was like, oh, you make a choice, this or that. No, women were not celebrated and also looked down upon, like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, good for you. That type of thing. And I'm telling you, from a woman being in the workforce, knowing other women with my friends, it 100% was like that. I'm not saying that every woman is going to feel that way, but that was the messaging of our Gen X generation. And I think that just putting this message out there and not just making it neutral, right? Giving people the decision, you're going to give the people the decision, but actually celebrating, like encouraging, I don't know what other word than celebrating. Huh?
I think you should celebrate the choice. I guess that's where I disagree with you.
Yeah, but the choice.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying put it down if you don't. I'm just saying make it to where.
But I agree with you. It shouldn't be stigmatized if you want to be a trad wife. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't even want to use that term because yeah, I know I said it. I just don't want to use it because it's like so played out now. But what I'm saying is this alone, just letting people
Or
know, hey,
you want me to say stay at home wife instead of trad wife?
like stay at home
kinda
mom,
stay
stay
at
at home
home
mom,
mom.
They're
because
kinda
it's
similar, I
about the
suppose.
mom. It's about being a mom. Like, why would you stay at home if you're just a wife with no kids, unless you want to? See, I'm stigmatizing. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, go be a
Yeah.
socialite, do something. Like, what are you doing at home?
Yeah,
Like,
stay at home mom makes more sense in the
it's a
context of
stay at
us.
home mom.
Yeah.
So I think that putting this information out there, this is good information that I've known, let's say at the most 2.5 years. That's
Mhm.
not very long. That's not very long for me to know this information. And I would guarantee that there's a lot of other people out there that still don't know this,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
There's a
so
lot.
it's good to let people know, hey, these are
I
the
think there's
facts
people that know it. There's people that know it just from. I mean, this is anecdotal, but
that our birth rate, that our fertility rate is declining.
yeah, in the U.S., like
Pe-
they have the ability to look up the numbers, and it's
But just because they do, like me and you, most people are not going to be like searching for things. They're not curious. If you're not putting it out there on like the news or something that they're going to come across, maybe not the news, but
That's a good
just
point.
whatever, a lot of people might not come across it because they're not like looking for information. They're just trying to like work, live their everyday lives.
But we in this generation, like you talk about with Cal, they have the most access to information that we ever had at Gen X, right?
Yeah, that doesn't mean
Yeah, it doesn't mean
every
they're gonna
single
use it.
person is access. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
look, I know you like being a contrarian. All I'm
No,
saying,
I like the solution of tech to problems, and it seems like you're saying, oh,
but I think
people don't
we're
have access to, like they don't see the news. A lot of people don't watch the news anymore.
forget the news. I said the news.
People
Say social
access
media.
social media. You know,
Say social media. We
yeah.
should put it out there
People
in
access
social
the
media.
internet.
But the information right now on social media, yes, it may be out there. One, you can find it. Two, a
I'm
lot of
not trying to
people,
be
a
contrarian
lot
just for the
of
sake of it.
people.
I'm saying the solution is out there.
One, the solution is out there and you can find it if you search for it. Two, the information is coming from influencers and social media YouTubers, but the information needs to come from also like authorities. Like, it needs to come from like
What authority?
authorities, meaning like I don't know, the government. It needs
Yeah,
to come
right.
from, it needs to be like,
Well,
big media promotes things. Big media needs to give us this information and they're not.
well, we're gonna. I think. Let me
Have you heard
interject here, if you don't mind.
have you watched a news segment that talks about this? But I don't care if you watch the news on TV or on
I mean,
YouTube or
I
whatever.
do watch
Have
it
you
sometimes.
watched a news segment on YouTube or on Twitter where CNN, ABC, any of them are talking about this? They're not. So
Yeah.
a lot of people
Well,
don't know. And creating awareness is going to cause people to be like, all right, well,
I think
dang, maybe
I think we.
I'm beating a dead horse.
No, you're not.
No,
I
you're
just.
not. You're good.
I actually, I put some notes too down, and I think it's our knowledge systems, as Alex Epstein calls them, our epistemology is very flawed, and where we get our information from is
But the information is
flawed.
out there. Like just because you
Yeah,
decide
Nobody's
to get it from an
saying it's
incorrect
not
Yeah,
out
source,
there.
But it doesn't. Yes, it's
but
out
that's
there,
a weak
and it's
answer,
these.
and that's a weak solution. Like saying,
I didn't say it was
oh,
a solution. This is explanatory. I'm telling. I'm responding.
that's like an excuse to say, well, people are ignorant, so everybody's just walking through, like everybody's sheeple or everybody's dumb. And
What?
it's like,
I
I feel
didn't
like
say
that's
that.
a weak answer.
He's not saying that.
I was just saying this is the reason why. I'm just saying the reason why this is not broadcast is because our knowledge systems are corrupted, which is another topic we should probably go into in another podcast. I actually wanted to ask you, Fred. I wanted to go more into the IVF, and you mentioned something about Israel earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they lead the globe in the population rate, 2.3. I think it's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. That's.
But the reason being is because not just because of the natural process of reproduction, but because I think what you are saying, they had basically a mass rollout and propaganda about IVF, and like they pushed that program, like, look, if you're having problems, if you don't want to have, like we're pushing IVF on the population, and it worked.
So they leverage IVF to
Solve the
Pad-
issue
pad their
of
books.
becoming extinct.
Well, maybe
Okay.
they were desperate. That's why they did it.
I
Like
mean, that's fine.
like we don't have to go there if we don't allow it to get to a desperate level.
I wanted to actually
But the issue the question of extinction would become a desperate issue. Like if we
that's
We're
pretty
starting to
desperate,
question
Obviously,
extinction.
it would,
Yeah,
but
extinction's
why?
pretty desperate,
Like, yeah.
I wanted to
because that's the question. We were talking about extinction.
extinction.
I think
exactly.
the messaging needs to place value on having kids. Not that does not mean it looks down on those who don't have kids.
Yeah,
I think
agree
that
with
the
you. I agree
message
with
from big media, right? This is important enough to where big media needs to address this for it to become
I don't know. Fox News has Matt
ubiquitous.
Walsh on it, and like he.
But I'm
like,
talking about I'm not not everybody watches Fox News.
I know, but you said big,
I'm talking about
classified big
CNN,
media.
ABC,
like
who
all
else?
the legacy news, like
Yeah.
NBC.
Those they need it. Why would you not? Why would you say? Why
Yeah,
do you think they don't need to
because,
talk
like,
about it? Is it not important enough to talk about?
I don't think it's not important, but I think when you classify it as like it's some type of hidden agenda, I think that's.
I didn't
nefarious.
classify it as in the hidden agenda.
Okay.
He's saying he's giving his reasons, which I may or may not agree with.
Oh, okay.
My thing is why, or if we want to like increase the birth rate, my thing is we should put it out there. And then my thing is, why didn't I know about it? I really have no idea. He's given his opinion, but I'm not necessarily agreeing with his opinion. I don't know why. It could have also been my state of mind. You know what I'm saying? That
like
I
the
wasn't.
messaging you got as a Gen Xer and feeling like
It could have also been me and how I received the messaging. You know what I'm saying? It could have been where my mom was like, don't have more than one kid. The world is, and that really sank into me.
Yeah,
For me, it could have been like a lot of those things. Plus, it wasn't really, like I said, celebrated. It was kind of like looked down on, like, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom, like that type, like a, what is it, pacifying type of thing in my generation. I think those for me are the reasons. And then a little bit like, well, nobody ever told me. I've only heard the opposite. But I can't tell you like exactly why. And at this point, like, I don't even care why. I just think that if we need to increase our birth rate,
the total picture should be displayed, is what you're saying.
That big media needs to talk about it. And I don't hear anyone talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Well, we don't have to say big media. I just don't know what to say. Like
that's good
because
enough.
we have alternative
channels.
resources, and most of the people from his generation access those alternative resources.
Then everybody needs to talk about it.
Yeah, but it
then
should be.
Everyone needs to talk about this.
It just seems old school to me. Like,
yeah, it doesn't have to be big media. Everyone needs to talk about it then.
I think it's an important issue.
I feel like it's super important.
I think it is too, and it's sinister because it's something you don't see daily.
See, that's his. See, when you hear him reply to me, you think that that's my view.
No, I don't think that because we talked about it. No, I don't think that's your position. I just think when
you didn't even let me finish the point. I said it's sinister. I said it's sinister that this issue is sinister because it's something that is treacherous, and it's much further in the future than, like, it's something you don't see day to day. You see, if you walk around day to day, you're like, whatever, life is pretty good. But when you actually look at the data, it's like you come to the conclusion, oh my gosh, like, I mean, we're okay for the next 5 years, but the trajectory leads us to a horrible point. And we haven't even gone into exponential decay, which is actually how this happens, because the rates of change, when you have less kids, they're going to have less kids too. So it doesn't happen linearly. It happens, it goes like this, and then it goes.
But once again, I would call into the form of tech. I believe we've had a discussion about this from a mutual acquaintance. You know, once AI comes into play, you don't need as many people to perform as many essential functions to produce. And that's truly the problem of how humanity becomes extinct, is if we don't have the technology to produce enough resources to keep our civilization going. So I think that's why the rate is falling.
Is that why any groups of people became extinct because of the resources, lack of resources? I don't think. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think so.
But
Polybius recorded.
This will go into a deeper question, and we'll have to go in further with that with our further discussions. But depending on how old you think the Earth is and all that, like, I mean, I believe humans have been around for millions of years, and we haven't become extinct yet. You have certain species or genius of human relatives, as they call it, become extinct, but humanity has not become extinct. And I think that's a little nefarious, like he's saying, sinister and nefarious. I think that's a little bit of a nefarious lie too. Like, you know, just as the overpopulation myth is a little bit of a, I think it's a little bit of an embellishment too. Like, I do agree with you on that. Like, the concern with overpopulation is probably exaggerated, but I also think this concern.
But why have we been told that? Okay, let me.
Why are y'all telling me this when I know humans been around for millions of years? Okay, we're not going nowhere. I want to clear up one. It sounds goofy to me. Like, what?
I want to clear
around millions of years.
I want to clear up one thing. I've been saying, you know, have more kids, and I've been talking about stay-at-home moms. You don't even have to stay at home. Just have more kids. Just have more kids, because not everyone can stay at home. So I'm not saying. Like, I was just conflating those 2 points, having more kids and staying at home. Yes, it's ideal to stay at home if you have a strong, you know, marriage and your husband can be a good supporter. I would say a lot of people would say that could be ideal. And a lot of people would say maybe that's not ideal. I don't even care about that part.
The family unit is ideal, like a functional, productive family unit where you have a man and a wife raising children. I think is what you're saying, regardless if the wife works.
And I'm not even saying that because if I'm saying that, then I'm like putting people in this box to do things like per my Christian worldview. I'm just saying.
Should we have a bunch of single moms just birthing out kids that are not going? Because I think we addressed that last issue.
I'm just saying sometimes
with the Julio
people have kids and then they end up getting divorced, right? So I'm not even like telling, well, you should, you know, get married, have a strong marriage, have kids. Yes, ideally. But that's looking at it from my Christian worldview. Right now, stripping all that away, just looking at the fertility rate being at like 1.6 in the US right now, that's super low. Like, we should put that information, not we, but that information should be out there more than rather than having to search for it. It should be more in our face. And people just need to like hear that so they can start having more kids regardless of their situation. If a single mom feels like, well, she's capable of having more kids, then if she wants to raise her kids that way, fine. But just let's get this information out there so we can have more kids. And like, does that make sense? I'm not trying to tell anyone how to do it.
No, that's
well. Let's we mentioned during the break, and we'll wrap up with this is maybe potential. That's fine. I think it's a really interesting topic.
My mic went like this.
Sorry, you're good.
I get too hyped.
I think we all get hyped. We all are pretty passionate.
We are.
And we all are showing fervor about this topic.
It's a
good one.
Yeah, because there's so much more to this too. I wish we had time to get to it, but
because we're gonna have to get into abortion and like, what about the aftercare after you have a kid? Like, is it ethical to just have a bunch of kids and not raise them? Which is what we kind of got into with the Julio Fulio thing,
right?
Last segment.
Who was Julio Fulio?
That rapper, and like the mother was talking about.
Yes, I forgot.
Like, is it like ethical just to like reproduce for the sake of repopulation?
Correct.
Yeah, no, I don't
or
think that's
should
right.
we have kids to parent them like the most effective? You know, like
that way that we can.
Yeah, because otherwise you're adding that negative. You're gonna have a bunch of crash outs here, like killing themselves, killing other people, and then like, does that really correct the repopulation? Like, if
we don't want to create
or the degradation of society. So like,
yes,
we have to start talking about that too.
Yeah, so that's a huge digression, and it also comes. That's something that's addressed after you actually fix the birth rate,
Or at the same time.
No. You fix that once you fix the birth rate, then you figure out how do you raise all these people who were just being birthed.
I think she's right. I think you do it at the same time.
Well, ideally, yes.
I mean, I'm just saying you could talk about it at the same time.
I'm just saying we're not even, as a society, we're not even meeting the bare minimum. So once we can meet the bare minimum, then we can discuss how do we cultivate children and educate them properly and make sure they thrive and flourish in the world, which is what you're talking about. So,
and I wish we could just start this whole segment over because, like, I conflated way too much at the beginning.
No, you didn't.
And I'm not trying to talk about anything ethical when I talk about this right now. I'm just talking about let's get the birth rate up.
Well, but I think you made an excellent point about information and accessibility because I think we as Gen Xers, we didn't have access to the information. All we had.
That answers my question.
All we had was
we
the
were
media.
Told. That's all we had.
So I do agree that you made an excellent point. All I'm trying to tell you is that the dynamic has changed with the younger generation.
Right.
In our generation, we didn't have that.
We had to believe. We had to eat what we were fed.
Yeah.
Well,
so like you made an excellent point.
But again, even though we have a lot more access to that information,
yeah,
you still have to dig for it. Is all I'm saying. Do you have? We have to dig for it. Do you think we have to dig
we got
a little more.
We got.
You
don't have to dig like mine, but you have to actually know to ask. You have to know to ask that question.
Yes, that's.
Does that make sense?
Well, there's an epistemological crisis going on, which we can discuss at a later segment.
Not a crisis.
Well, sure, that people don't even know this. I mean, even though it's blatantly obvious, I mean, that's an epistemological crisis. But
it's not a crisis when everybody has access to the same information. All you got to do is access it.
But what if you don't know what you don't know? There's a lot of people that don't know.
So basically,
there's a lot of people would know. Even like
let's go into
people that you say that has a.
Let's do solutions so we can
epistemological
crisis. Like people I know who can access the information, bro. And
but do they know they need? Do they know they need to access that information?
That's the only way they can rebuttal people like that have your position.
No, she nailed it right on the head.
No, I'm nailing it right on the head.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Do they actually, that's another conversation for another day, which I would like to explore. Let's talk about the solutions. You guys mentioned mandates earlier. That
we might want to save that for like part of the next segment.
Because
I think part of this question too is how do you really apply all our theories or philosophy into a real life application? Because that's ultimately how we determine the outcomes. We can sit here and talk about our ideologies and our belief systems and like what we think should happen or what we think should not happen. But we have to like, how do we iterate this into like
I like
tangibility?
All right, so we'll do part 4. So
yeah, cool.
All right, guys. Do you guys want to add anything else for
if I add one thing, I'm gonna add 15 minutes. So no,
we'll save it for the next segment.
And I just got a sign behind the camera that said, "Blanca, be quiet."
Hey, that's our viewers are not supposed to know what goes on behind the.
But sometimes,
this is a great topic.
It is a really good topic. It is really good.
It's a fundamental topic, and it spawns a lot of other conversations, like you said about epistemology. Like, why are we told other things, even though they're not the reality?
How do we know what we don't know?
Yeah.
Or how do we know what we do know?
I mean, that's the core purpose of philosophy.
One of the branches.
Trying to find objective reality. I mean, even So. I was looking at it last night. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we got enough. Yeah. And man, I'm looking forward to the next episode.
I am too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Let's go.
Signing off here. Cut. And thank you for everything, guys. Yeah.
How do you cut?